Welcome aboard the Ear to There podcast, the podcast that'll help you vacation like a pro in any Disney destination. For those of you standing, please sit down and hold on throughout our journey and get ready to learn how to have the time of your life. And now, here's your host, Phil Gramlich.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ear to There podcast. I am your host, Phil Gramlich, and I'm also the owner and operator of Ear to There Travel, a Disney-specialized travel agency. It's my job... it's my mission in life to take away the stress, the anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. You can find this podcast, my blog, or request a free, no-obligation quote over at eartotheretravel.com. This is episode 41 for the week of November 7th, 2016. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. This episode of the Ear to There podcast is somewhat unique and calls for a different kind of introduction. See what I did there? Tower of Terror. Okay. Anyway, this is going to be a different kind of episode than I normally do. So if you are upset with having me talk for like 40 minutes, you may want to hit stop now because it's just going to be me on this episode. Back on episode 28, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes this week, I gave my ultimate Magic Kingdom attraction ranking, or my ultimate ranking of Magic Kingdom attractions. Yeah, that sounds a lot better. So this week I decided I am going to put out my ultimate ranking of Epcot attractions. That's right, I'm going to go through all of the current listed attractions on Epcot's guide map and let you know which ones I think are the best and which ones I think are the worst. And worst is kind of a relative term here, I would say. I'm not telling you absolutely don't do my bottom 3 or my bottom 5. You really should still do them. I'm just saying they're not in my top 5 or 10. And I have to say, I love Epcot. I mean, I love every Walt Disney World theme park, but I love Epcot. I love the entrance. I love the music when you walk in. I love walking by Spaceship Earth. Spoiler alert, that is on the list. I really love everything about it. So here we go. Ultimate ranking of Epcot attractions. I'm going to start with number 23. And number 23 is, I guess, arguably an attraction because a lot of people, a lot of guests don't really realize that the Land Pavilion has 3 attractions, okay? There are 2 pretty obvious ones and 1 not so obvious one. So for number 23, I'm going to go with the not so obvious Circle of Life and Environmental Fable. This show has been around for a while. It features the Lion King characters giving messages about conservation, saving the planet kind of thing. I'll tell you what, it's kind of worn out its welcome. There's also a kind of a risque joke in there. I'm not going to say it just because I feel like it's kind of inappropriate for a podcast with a G rating. So I'll let you go. If you want to go to Circle of Life and Environmental Fable and find out what that kind of risque joke is, go right ahead. The reason it's on the bottom of my list is it's, like I said, it's worn out its welcome. It's not the greatest thing, but listen, if your kids are fans of the Lion King, they love the Lion King, after you do Festival of the Lion King and hang out in Animal Kingdom for a while, maybe stop on by the Circle of Life show at the Land Pavilion. All right, number 22 is, and this is one that hasn't been there that long, but it loses points for me because it replaced something that I kind of enjoyed. And it's the Pixar Short Films Festival. Now, if you don't know what this is at the Imagination Pavilion in Future World. And basically, you go in, you grab some 3D glasses, you sit down, and you watch a few of the Pixar short films. There's one with Mickey Mouse. There's a couple other ones. The Mickey is the classic Mickey, the classic Minnie, Horace, Horse Collar, those kinds of characters. It's a neat 3D movie. It was before, I think it was before Frozen, when Frozen came out in theaters. But it's kind of a poor use of that theater. It's a nice theater. It had Captain EO in it before, and that's not the one I was upset that it replaced because to be honest with you, Captain EO was a strange, weird film. I really enjoyed Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. I was hoping they would bring that back. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. Okay, on to number 21. We're staying in Future World in Ellen's Energy Adventure. I know, fans of Universe of Energy, fans of the nostalgia of Epcot, you're not getting the original Universe of Energy back. We have Ellen still, which is a really, really super long show. The animatronics, which were very high-tech and lifelike when they were installed, are kind of dated. The show is still funny. I will admit, there are some very funny lines in the show. Ellen calling Jamie Lee Curtis Stupid Judy makes me laugh every time. But again, it's a dated show. There's rumors that they're going to put in a Guardians of the Galaxy attraction in there. I'm not quite sure if that's going to happen or not. But anyway, number 21, Ellen's Energy Adventure. Okay, number 20, and I'm only listing this one because it's on the guide map and it's on as an attraction. And we're going over to World Showcase in the Germany Pavilion. And yes, I'm talking about the model train display. Now, it's not an attraction, as you can't really, there's no seat, you don't ride through it. You can kind of walk through the garden there and check out the little town and the trains that are zipping through the town. It's kind of relaxing. Go get yourself an Oktoberfest this time of year. Stroll through the train setup. It's pretty cool. And during the Food and Wine Festival, the townspeople are actually having their own little Food and Wine Festival in the train display, which is very cool. And during Christmas, they have like a Christmas tree. And during Flower and Garden Festival, it's decorated for Flower and Garden in a little display. So it's kind of cute. I think that's the right word I would use. It's kind of fun to walk through there. Okay. Next up, back to Future World. I'm going toward the front of the park, the front of Epcot. And I'm going to take, for number 19, Project Tomorrow, Inventing the Wonders of the Future. This one is the kind of the post-show for Spaceship Earth. So you get to play some hands-on games, some virtual reality games. And when they take your picture on Spaceship Earth, they put it up on a big screen inside there. And it doesn't always work. So sometimes it's like half your face up there. It's an interesting little thing. But it's something that if you want to beat the heat, get out of the hot Florida sun for a while, you might want to duck in. Other than that, I would say, just check it out when you get off Spaceship Earth. For number 18, I'm staying in Future World, going back over to the Imagination Pavilion. And this is the post-show, since we're kind of in a theme here, post-show theme. This is a post-show for Journey into Imagination with Figment. And it's the ImageWorks, the What If Labs. So this is a fun one, actually. My kids, we always go on the Imagination attraction, and then hang out for a while in ImageWorks because they love those games. They love running around. There's a big area where you step on the ground and different instruments play. There's another one where you put your arms through like these sensors and you and Figment play different instruments. It's kind of cool. There's like a huge, almost like memory-like game on the wall like a Simon. Remember Simon from the 80s when it was like a circle, like little console, and the buttons would light up and you'd have to hit the buttons? I always memorized. I could do that. I was really good at that because I didn't look at the lights. I memorized the sounds. Am I weird? I'm probably weird. Okay. Moving on to number 17. And, I don't want to give this one this low of a rating, but for me, it's O Canada, the film in the Canada Pavilion in the World Showcase. I'm just not a Martin Short fan, so for me, that's why this kind of loses some points. I've seen it. Usually I walk right past it. I know, big Disney fan here, but still. And you know what? We're going to stick with the theme of the films here. While they're fun and they're neat to see a couple times, I don't, especially with kids, go to see the films all that often these days. So for me, number 16 in the France Pavilion is Impressions de France. I know, I said that with the most Philadelphia accent ever. I'll try it again. No, you know what? I'm not going to try it again. We'll put the Google Translate lady in here to say Impressions de France because I would make a mockery of the accent. So Google Translate lady, do your thing.
Impression de France.
And that's how you're actually supposed to say it. Okay, on to number 15. Again, we're staying in World Showcase, and I'm going with Reflections of China. And it is a good movie. It's a good film. You get to, it's the 360-degree circle vision theater, so you get to spin around, look at the Great Wall of China and the Forbidden City and all that stuff. Very educational. It's a very cool movie, but for me, it can't beat the attractions that I still have left on the list. So on to number 14, and this one doesn't really have a location in the park because it's kind of all over the place, and it's the Agent P World Showcase Adventure. So the way this used to work is you used to get a little handheld phone kind of thing, and you walk around and play kind of like almost like a scavenger hunt type game with the Phineas and Ferb characters. Now you can actually use it on your smartphone. You can use your smartphone to play the game, which is very, very cool. It's a good time. If you have little kids, if you have kids that are old enough that they get and enjoy Phineas and Ferb, it's very neat. And also, you have interactive elements all around Epcot that, when you hit a button, something will, in a window in World Showcase, the window will open up and you actually control that. So it's pretty cool. So I'd say if you have some time in Epcot between the big headliners, or if you have a morning or an afternoon that you're kind of going to go at a leisurely pace, try the Agent P World Showcase Adventure. All right, on to my next one, and it's number 13. And for number 13, I'm going with Living with the Land and the Land Pavilion. And I think this is the one where if there was a zombie apocalypse, this is where you would want to be when the apocalypse hit. So if you do find yourself in Epcot and you turn to a friend of yours to tell that friend something funny or some funny story, and they try to eat your face, then you might want to head straight to Living with the Land. Because Living with the Land has the drive-through, I would say drive-through, but it's more of a float-through or a boat-through. Greenhouses and gardens, and you can live in there forever. So if the zombies are ever coming, that's where I want to be. But besides the hydroponics and the different ways you get to see the vegetables and fruits grown, there's also the attraction element to this. So you go through the prairie, you go through a small farmhouse, you go through the jungle and rainforest, and it's again it's an old opening day Epcot attraction. It's pretty much unchanged. I mean, the music is different. There was a song on this attraction. I'm going to play it now because it was a really good song, and it's the one thing that I really miss from Living with the Land. Here's the song.
Let's listen to the land we all love. Nature's plan will shine above. Listen to the land. Listen to the land.
Yeah, that's a catchy song. I really miss that. Anyway, it's not even if you had the time. Get off Soarin'. When you're done with Soarin', go right over to Living with the Land, or you can stop at Sunshine Seasons. I have a hard time saying that. That's a hard thing for me to say. You can stop there and grab the famous power salad, or you can stop and grab kind of anything you want. A giant pork chop. They have cupcakes and desserts, and it's a pretty good place. So in between Soarin' and Living with the Land, stop by Sunshine Seasons. I said it again. And you can grab something to eat there. Okay, so on to my next one, number 12. We're going back over to the Imagination Pavilion, and this is Journey into Imagination with Figment. Too high on the list? I think you might be saying maybe that's true. Maybe 12 is a little too high for this version of the Imagination attraction. But I have to admit, we still love it. I take my kids every trip. The surprise at the end when it gets dark, and then that Figment says imagination is a blast, and the air hits you in the face, and it's a loud noise. And just say, spoiler alert, I'm sorry if you haven't been on it in a while, but I love taking my kids just for that, just because I crack up, because it scares the pants off them every time, but in a good way. They love it. They laugh because it's so surprising. And I know I miss the old Journey into Imagination. I don't miss the middle hybrid, strange Journey into Your Imagination. That was a weird kind of attraction that never really caught on and didn't stay very long. So I'm glad they brought Figment back, even though the Dreamfinder still is MIA. All right, for number 11, we are going back to World Showcase and once you get into World Showcase, make that left, head straight over to Mexico and the Grand Fiesta Tour starring the Three Caballeros. Listen, another one. Maybe it's too high on this list for you guys. For me, I love it. It's another one that I think once they put the Three Caballeros in this attraction and changed it from El Rio, is it El Rio de Tiempo or El Rio del Tiempo? I always forget. El Rio de Tiempo? I think that's what it is. Anyway, what it was. Anyway, the Grand Fiesta Tour is a lot of fun. There's never a line. You walk right on it. It's a fun little boat ride through the Mexico Pavilion. The music is fun. There's really cool screen effects with Donald Duck. I know it's at the most high-tech attraction, but we love it. We go every single trip. And also, it's another excuse, right? When you go into the Mexico Pavilion, in the inside of the pyramid there, go to La Cava de Tequila, grab yourself a margarita. After you're done with that, ride the Grand Fiesta Tour starting the Three Caballeros. Can't beat it. Okay, on to number 10. Top 10, here we go. On to number 10. And I'm going back into Future World, and it's going to be Turtle Talk with Crush in the Seas. Do they still call it the Seas Pavilion? I know the attraction is the Seas with Nemo and Friends, so I think it's the Seas Pavilion. Anyway, what we always do is we ride the Seas with Nemo and Friends, jump right off that, and get right in line for Turtle Talk with Crush. This is one that I hadn't done in a while, and then when my wife and I had our kids, we started doing it again. It's a great attraction. And recently, over the summer, they added the Finding Dory characters to this attraction to make it even more fun. If you don't know what it is, kind of sit in the theater, it looks like you're facing a tank, but when in reality, it's a huge movie screen. And Crush comes out and interacts with the people in the crowd. He tells jokes, he answers questions, he talks to the children and the adults. He kind of embarrasses an adult or two. That's always a lot of fun. Listen, Turtle Talk with Crush is completely different every time. It's a very cool attraction, very cool experience. So I'd say, even if you don't have kids, it's worth checking out on your next trip to Epcot. Okay, we're still in the top 10, going to number 9. And number 9, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying in Future World and heading over to the Epcot character spot. So this one, I like to get fast passes for pretty much every time we're in the parks. Not because it's a very long wait most of the time, but because if you're not familiar with it, Epcot has a tiered fast pass system where you could only pick certain attractions from tier 1, and then there's more attractions from tier 2. So basically in tier 1, they have Soarin', they have Test Track, they have Frozen Ever After. So you can only pick one of those attractions to fast pass in a day. And then you're at the end in tier 2, you have Spaceship Earth, The Seas with Nemo and Friends, Turtle Talk with Crush, and the Epcot character spot. So basically, we always get the Epcot character spot. So we don't have to wait in line. You get to go meet Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy. So that's a lot of fun. My kids get to meet them. We take a lot of pictures. They never get tired of it. It's a great meet and greet with 3 of the Fab 5. I'd say if you're looking for a fast pass and you're deciding between that and The Seas with Nemo and Friends or Turtle Talk with Crush, get that. Only because sometimes the waits are a little longer for that one. And who doesn't want to meet Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy with almost no wait? It's pretty awesome. Okay, on to number 8. And we're going back into World Showcase to the Norway Pavilion for the Royal Summer House Anna and Elsa meet and greet. Listen, I know my last Word of the Week show was about Norway. I feel for you Maelstrom fans. I know you're still not happy with the changes, but this meet and greet is fantastic. It's a really well done location. I think it still keeps the charm and the feel of Norway. And listen, it's the Frozen sisters. It's Anna and Elsa. If you have little girls or little boys for that matter, and they're still all in on Frozen, I'd say this is well worth it. It's a fun little place to go meet Anna and Elsa. All right, on to number 7, and I'm not going far, just a stone's throw away from the Anna and Elsa meet and greet at the Royal Summer House, and I'm going with Frozen Ever After. Again, Maelstrom fans, I'm sorry, and honestly, to be honest with you, this may be even higher on my list if I've actually ridden it. I have not ridden it yet. On my next trip in January of 2017 will be my first chance to ride it. I've only seen the videos, the first person ride throughs, and it looks fantastic. I like that they kept the vehicles pretty much the same as they were with Maelstrom. I like that the course, I like that the track is the same as Maelstrom as well. It helped Disney put an attraction in there kind of quickly. And from what I understand, from what I've seen, it doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel hurried. It doesn't feel out of place. It feels like it's a great attraction in a great little section of the park. So yeah, number 7 was, or is, Frozen Ever After. Okay, on to number 6, running back out over the bridge into Future World, hanging a right, and going to Mission Space. Personally, I love Mission Space. I know I've ridden with people who can't ride the more intense version, which is the one I do every time. I love the more intense version. I love the feel as you launch and your cheeks stretch to the back of your head. I love that feeling. I love those butterflies in your stomach that you get. It's a great attraction. If you haven't been on it, well, for one thing, if you haven't been on it, make sure you're free of any pre-existing medical conditions, because that's one thing that you have to be careful of on that one. But if you haven't been on it and you go to Epcot, it's a great attraction and a lot of fun. Although I never really trust Capcom, Gary Sinise. I don't trust him. I don't know why. Never liked that guy. Not Gary Sinise. I like him. But Capcom, the character, don't trust him. Anyway, on to number 5. I'm just running across the park again to the other side of Future World, and I'm going back to the Seas Pavilion for the Seas with Nemo and Friends. And this attraction is just well done. Just well done all around, right? They had the Living Seas there forever with the movie with the lady narrator who did, and they rained and rained and rained. You know, I'm going to try to find a clip to put in here, because I can't tell if I'm really creepy when I do it or if she sounded creepy when she did it. So here's the clip of the raining part.
Rain upon that planet Earth. And they rain and rain and rain.
Okay, so they went from that and the hydrolators and the ride through of the aquariums in the Living Seas to the version that they have now, which is a fun attraction. It's, you know, they put Finding Nemo in there, and you have the characters that you love. You have Nemo, you have Marlin, you have Dory, you have the starfish whose name I forget at the end from the tank gang in the first movie. You have Mr. Ray. It's just a lot of fun. And somehow, I don't want to give it away if you haven't done it, but somehow in the end of the attraction, Nemo and Dory and the rest of the gang are in the tank with the real fish. I'm assuming we talked about this on on the episode, the best projection effects episode that we did. I don't know how they do it. I'm assuming it's a projector. Very, very cool illusion. It's really cool to see. So, and the thing about this attraction is it doesn't end when the attraction ends, right? You get off the attraction, you get out of your clammobile, and you can walk all around the pavilion. There's so many different fish, so many different mammals, right? Is a manatee a mammal? I think it is. Should I check that? If I'm wrong and a manatee isn't a mammal, just let me know. But I think I'm right. But there are dolphins, there are manatees, there are tons of different kinds of fish. There are sharks. It's kind of a cool thing to just take your time, walk through, and check everything out after riding the Seas with Nemo and Friends. Okay, on to number 4. And we're going, you know, it's a far walk. Remember they used to do the Segway? I don't know if you remember. They used to do the Segway tours at Epcot. I wish I had a Segway, because if I'm walking all the way from the Seas with Nemo and Friends to the American Adventure, which is number 4, I would like to have the Segway instead. But, okay, so the American Adventure is a show. You go into a theater, and I think a lot of people kind of get it confused with Hall of Presidents. It's a much grander, much bigger, much more ambitious show than the Hall of Presidents is. It's a show full of audio animatronic characters hosted by Benjamin Franklin and Mark Twain. And it goes through the history of America. It's something that if you haven't seen, go see it on your next trip to Epcot. You will be so happy that you did. You'll come out of there feeling like such pride in America. It's very, very cool. It's a great show. The music on this one is phenomenal. There's a song, Golden Dreams, I believe it's called. Okay, I just cheated and I looked it up. You didn't even know that I did it, did you? It was that fast. But it's actually called Golden Dream. It's the song, the main song of the show. It is phenomenal. I'm going to actually, you know what? This is the episode where I'm playing clips. I'm going to play that right now.
America, spread your golden wings, sail on freedom's wind across the sky. Great bird, with your golden dreams, flying high, flying high.
Yeah, so that's just a phenomenal song. It's a great show. It's one of the most complex stage shows Disney's ever built. And these enormous stages are rotated in and out by this crazy big machine. That's the best way I can explain it. Crazy big machine. But each stage is full of audio animatronic characters and sets, and it's an amazing show. So, like I said, your next trip to Epcot, especially if you haven't seen it or haven't seen it in a while, go check that out. It's a great show. All right, top three. Number 3 for me is all the way back at the front, the main entrance of Epcot. It is the icon of the theme park, and it is Spaceship Earth. Spaceship Earth's been there since opening day, 1982. It has gone through a lot of changes over the years. A lot of changes. There have been several narrators. Walter Cronkite, Jeremy Irons, and now Judi Dench, or Dame Judi Dench. I have to admit I missed the Jeremy Irons one. I did a terrible impression of Jeremy Irons on one of these episodes of the podcast, but I won't do it this time. I will spare you guys the awful Jeremy Irons impression. But anyway, this is a look through the evolution of communications on the planet Earth. It's very, very cool. It's a great classic attraction. Awesome music, awesome soundtrack. And at the end, you get a little choose your own adventure moment, I guess, with the finale of the attraction. Not as great, not as grand as it used to be when you used to come back down backwards out of the attraction and would see the scenes, like the audio animatronic scenes with the virtual reality, the mom saying goodnight to her kids on the computer who were in a different area than she was. It was very cool. And it kind of predicted the future in a lot of ways, but they took that out. And now you get to kind of choose your own adventure. They take a picture of your face. You're kind of a cartoon. Interesting, not as good as it used to be, but still good enough to be number 3 on my list. Number 2 for me, and again, these are my picks. You might completely disagree, but number 2 for me is in Future World, and it's Test Track. Now, I know it's different than it used to be. It's not the same attraction. A lot of people call it Tron Track now because of its resemblance to that movie and the vehicles in that movie. For me, it's all about the end, the finale of that attraction. You go outside in the car, in the convertible, at 60 miles an hour. It feels a lot faster than 60 miles an hour when you're zipping around that building. I love the attraction. I think what they did with the ride itself now is it's fun. It's in a kitschy kind of way. I really did like the test dummy feel of it that they had before. So it's a kind of a bummer that they don't have that anymore. But for me, it's still number 2. It's still an exhilarating ride. It's a lot of fun. So Test Track is my number 2. All right, on to my number 1. By process of elimination, you probably figured out which one it is. That's right. Back over to the Land Pavilion. And it's my number 1 is Soarin' Around the World. Again, this is kind of a leap for me because I haven't ridden Soarin' Around the World as of yet. But I did ride the original Soarin' countless times. I've always loved it. What a great attraction. I love the feeling. I love everything about it. And looking at the new films and new videos that I've seen, listen, I'm not one of those guys that's not going to look at spoilers on YouTube. Once something is out, once Disney does something, whether I'm there or not, I check it out right away. So for me, nothing beats Soarin'. Nothing beats that. The feeling with your legs hanging in the air, flying over the cities, and now flying all over famous landmarks all across the world. I love it. Soaring around the world is my number one Epcot attraction. And just my kind of bonus tip here for a day at Epcot. If you're staying on property, I would recommend at 60 days out when you can book your fast passes, book either Frozen Ever After or Soaring Around the World. If you're staying off property, it's 30 days. You can do the same thing. I'd recommend the same thing. Frozen Ever After or Soaring Around the World. Those are your two most popular attractions right now. Those will be the two longest waits. So if you're looking to book a tier 1 fast pass attraction, those are the two that I would pick from. And then you could always, if you have multiple days in Epcot, you could always do Frozen Ever After one day and then Soaring Around the World the next. So there you have it, my ultimate ranking of Epcot attractions. And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There podcast. Thanks to my guest, me this week, since I didn't have a guest. And thank you so much for listening. As always, it is greatly, greatly appreciated. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Like I always say, just like I hope you enjoy every episode that I put out there. And if you did like it, please just tell someone about it. Or feel free to share these on any social media site. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, even though I'm still trying to figure that one out. Share it anywhere you'd like. On my website, eartotheretravel.com. It's very easy to share these. There's a little button on the side. Just click it. You'll be able to share it with any of your social media networks. So again, thank you so much for listening. And remember, there will be a new episode of the Ear to There podcast each and every Monday morning, as well as an episode of the Ear to There podcast Walt Disney World Word of the Week each and every Wednesday morning. So until next time, thank you again for listening. Have a great week. Bye-bye.